Hi, my name's Amanda Fingerhut. I'm the Education Coordinator for the Herbert H. Carnegie Future Aces Foundation. I used to be a teacher with the Toronto District School Board. I went into teaching because I loved raising the self-esteem and leadership skills of youth who didn't know that they had within them the opportunity for success in their lives. And I found that this charity, Future Aces, does exactly that.
I'm Vivian Shapiro. I'm the Education Director for the Herbert H. Carnegie Future Aces Foundation. And it's a long story how I got involved, but it's an interesting story. I had a man who I did not know come up to me one day. I was a vice principal in a school called Bayview Elementary Middle School. And a man came to my office saying he'd like to talk to me about something that perhaps my school could use. And that man was Herbert Carnegie.
Some of the students in my class didn't particularly like the fact that I wanted to learn more when they were frustrated and confused with the lesson. So they decided to show their anger and partial hatred towards me. At lunchtime, they'd often physically push me, they'd mentally insult me, and it hurt a lot.
My father was not around. I was really infatuated with the older men who were there, and I looked up to them as father figures. The things that they asked me to do, and what we called were missions. So a mission would be something like going to the flea market to steal clothes or steal jewelry and whatnot, and we would sell it down the street. Or for sometimes, I was aware we would have guns, and we would transport those guns. So you would be getting a backpack, and I just remember being on the TTC, metal just rattling.
Like my friends, they looked at me differently. So I kind of sat in the back and I ate lunch alone and I hung out with the teachers. I was called horrible names like ugly, fat, and I was even called a lesbian on social media once. And I would cry and I would cry.
I wanted to be a part of something even just bigger than myself, a movement, is what I felt. And a lot of that came from the influence and from what I was taught and told. Society doesn't have your back. You as a young black man, it's going to be the hardest ever. You're not going to have an enjoyable life. The odds are against you. You cannot become this, you cannot become that. And it was never said in a way to be condescending, but more as a fact of life, that these are the pressures that you must face as a young black man.
So eventually I started believing the things people said. Because I got weak, and I caved in, and I was sensitive, so I was an easy target.
I started volunteering with Future Aces to create a leadership conference for youth who didn't know that they were leaders.
I think it starts with believing in yourself. And that's what the Future Aces conference is all about. Showing students that every student has the ability to be a leader, to empower others, but most of all to empower themselves to make the proper choices in life.
In 2004, I entered Runnymede Collegiate as a grade 9 student. I was introduced at some point at the end of my year to Amanda Fingerhut, and Amanda approached me and she said, "You are a leader." And it got to me. When she said those words, it inspired so much, and it made me reflect on what it is I was doing.
And I looked for kids who were leaders but didn't know they were leaders. It's possible that they were negative leaders. Someone who's misbehaving in the classroom, the smart aleck of the classroom, the kid who, kids follow, probably very charismatic, but getting into negative things, being mischievous, not succeeding in school, not trying in school, but the kids are kind of following them in the classroom or in the hallways.
And this creed that Herb wrote, again for himself, had 12 statements. And he called it future, like always striving, ace, to be the best you can be. But something happens, the bonding with others, realizing they're not the only story out there that has had struggles. And something happens and they walk away from this conference empowered to start changing their own life, and then slowly, as they can believe in themselves to be a more powerful individual, they'll change others.
I took everything that Herb had taught from that conference, and was speaking with him time to time after that. I started to really indulge in positivity, but positivity in a sense where I not only had to just say it, I had to be it, I had to do it. I had to cut my contacts. I had to stop hanging around and talking with people who I felt in my environment were really pulling me down. I felt that I had to make the change, and I had to lead by example so that people would understand where I'm at and where I'm going. when we had the Year of the Gun, I started involved in workshops. I put myself in the schools talking about gang and gun violence. After that, I started involving myself around Ottawa, Thunder Bay, Montreal. I started going to the places where the youth were, whether that be the recreation center, the schools, outside on the lot, and I would actually do, whether it be programs, workshops. I helped to create as many opportunities as I could.
The Future Aces Conference has changed me in many ways. I've grown more confident. I've grown the ability to look at myself in a more positive way. I've grown the ability to look past the suicidal thoughts. I've grown more self-esteem. The Future Aces group itself at my school helped me realize that I can become a better person, that I am important, that I can be smart and nobody else has anything else to say about it.
I wasn't afraid of what people thought because I felt at home. I felt that everyone there had been through just as much as I have. I came back to school with confidence, with courage, and I knew to myself, I have to have a positive attitude, and I have to be intelligent, and I have to be polite, and I have to be true to who I am for everyone else to accept me. And before, I would come home and I would cry, but now I come home every night and I smile and I think to myself how beautiful life is and how great it is to feel good about yourself. But it was all because of one conference. 3 years of counseling compared to 3 days at a conference. Future Aces has helped me become who I am and helped me see the good and helped me just be a good person in general.
And we take all these kids and basically turn them into positive leaders in 3 days at the conference that we run. They basically get taken out of their environment and they're put with kids they don't know, even the kids they come with. They might, when they're working in groups at the conference, they're not with anybody they know, so they say they can reinvent themselves.
Shanika. Woo.
Hi, Shanika.
Woo.
Nina, ta-da!
Nina. Ta-da!
My name is Goose.
All right. Goose.
Bust a move if you have ever seen somebody called a name like you're a this or you're a that.
And they're put into a place, they're given a leadership conference, they're told they're leaders. They're not told they're chosen to come to a leadership conference because we think they can be leaders. They're told they're coming to a leadership conference because they are leaders. And I think that's the magic of it. Kids saying no to gangs, kids saying no to suicide, kids actually saying no to being a bully. There have been students who have spoken and said, you know, they were bullies prior to coming to this conference, and they realized how they should act in order to help others and not bully them.
Bust a move if you yourself have ever been called a name by somebody else.
There have been kids who have said they've had no self-esteem, that they were bullied. You know, so you have both ends of the spectrum, the bully coming together with the kid who's being bullied, working together to better themselves, and kids who after 3 days, and it amazes me. I mean, I've seen what it's done, but it still kind of amazes me that it does this, because I've seen kids after 3 days who were completely bullied and horrible and no friends and sitting alone in the hallways at recess and, you know, just really quiet kids who say that after this weekend, they turned around themselves, they started to have respect for themselves, and so others started to respect them. And now they talk out for others who are being bullied against the bullies, that they have the self-confidence to do that, and their lives are completely different. Really, I think all kids have an opportunity to have success in their lives.
I feel now I can be a Canadian icon, I can be a world icon.
He was a person who had such passion for growing people. I'm not even going to say changing people. It's more like growing people.
And that's really what he wanted, was to help others become the best versions of themselves.
If I was to speak to any 14 or 15-year-old who went through the same things that I went through, I'd say that you're definitely not alone. No one can emphasize enough that you are not experiencing the problems by yourself.
You can do anything you want to do. You can be anything you want to be. As long as you have faith, as long as you believe in yourself.
There is nothing that can take you from the road or the path of success. You are in control. You just need to realize it. And I just want the youth to know that.
My wish for the world is that everybody has the ability to find themselves, to find who they really are and who they really can be, and then to use that strength that they find in themselves to help others.